computer. Thank you very much. Good afternoon from Greece, from Crete, from, I would say, for very warm Crete. So for the people that you are traveling next week, don't bring any jacket. Hopefully, the climate change is not going to change our plans. I'm very glad that I can see a lot as well, who is going to be one of coordinators together with Tatjana, Samia, Sasha, and, the rest of the people that they will be with us next week. I think that we are going to have a very nice experience and very nice interaction. But before this will come, I would like to welcome not only a colleague, but a very good friend. For me personally, is a person that I'm feeling trust. So this is very important for me. This is Professor Tatjiana Welzer, the chocolate, because I used to have nicknames in order to remember real names. She's going to present something that I think that she's doing for many, many years, like non-verbal communication. As you know, body language, otherwise, at least this is my interception of the title. Body language, it's one of the expressions that we express most. I mean, I think that, there are surveys, probably Tatjana will say, that we express more through our body language than with real wording. So it's a whole technique. I would like to welcome Tatjana. Tatjana is a professor in the University of Maribor. They are leaders in the Athena Plus proposal that we're expecting the results. That's why you had, some gossiping. And Tatjana, the floor is yours. Tatjana will be with us in Crete. So the students, if you have more questions, Tatjana and Sasha and Tatjana will be with us in order to ask next week. So Tatjana, the floor is yours. And thank you very much for your contribution and your very first reaction on my call in order to deliver. I'm not going to explain, because we should not complain, no explain. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Kostas. Good afternoon to all of you. Yes, thanks for your kind words that make my work this afternoon even a bit more harder, because for the
okay, I'm taking back everything.
For the friends, the work must be even better as otherwise, and I hope I managed. I would like to say that I will still work a bit on the slides tonight to remove maybe something, or to organize it in the better way. But they will be, of course, available on all our channels. Yes, you upgraded a little bit, Kostas, also my title. So I will try now to share my slides, and let's see how effective I will be in this. So I'm trying to share the screen. Can you see my slides?
They are coming. Yes, place them now in full screen.
Yep, I'm trying.
Excellent.
I hope I managed.
Not yet.
I have it on my screen, full screen.
I think that this is the latest virus of Zoom. Just stop sharing and share it again then.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I have to go back, seems. I believe now you don't see anything.
Yes, correct.
Good. Let's do once again.
Press it.
Can you see them now?
No, still it's not in the full screen.
And now? Neither.
No. Don't worry, more people are coming, so I'm accepting.
Then I will repeat the story once again. A bit nervous becoming with all this, but I hope I manage this time.
How many screens do you use?
Just one, my notebook.
All right. So because sometimes it has to do. Make it full screen before you say now it's fine. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Kostas. The title of today's topic is non-verbal communication. And will you make it? What's coming somehow to that? So are we doing this? How we are doing this? Are we aware about all this? We will try to open many questions. I hope we will manage to answer also some of the questions. For my students, I have to let them know that yes, this is the topic that we discussed in our last lectures on Monday. Might be there will be something added, might be it will be presented a little bit on the different way. So let's see what I prepared. Now I have the problem how to move further. Okay, I found the way. So first, I prepared some slides about the verbal communication, but just to have it as an introduction, as I said, the slides itself will be still updated so that it will be more perfect. And then we will talk mostly about the nonverbal communication. Kostas mentioned already the body language. Body language is a part of nonverbal communication. But we will try to go also much broader with that. Might be in by some authors or by some presenters. Almost everything is included like a body language, but we will separate this in different levels and in different activities, and we will see what all will might be surprised us or even not. Let's start with the verbal communication. The first of the thing is that I have to remove this going line by the line. Verbal communication is use of the language to communicate with each other, to be in the contact, to present the ideas, to present everything with what we would like to communicate. Language is an integral part of our life and has a strong impact on our communication and cross-culture awareness, as well as ability to communicate with whomever. Usually, we are separating languages in the mother tongue and the foreign languages, and learning of languages is for children a natural way. They do not think about learning the new language. They are just learning the language like they are learning how to walk. This is also an important part. While as long as we are learning languages as small people, so to say, as a children, we learn faster as later on. Sometimes we can even forget the languages, but we can wake them up also if we are again in the surrounding where the language is spoken. We need some time, but we are coming back. We are speaking about the spoken language. We have the written expressions. We have the body language as a nonverbal communication. But I said we will have the discussion about it in more broader view, and with those languages, or the language that it's quite common and well known, is also the sign language, which is also connected to the nationality or to the national language, to expressions in the national language, because there is no international sign language as we have the English as lingua franca, or some other languages to common communication. When we are by the sign has the gestures, and the gestures are not the body language, because the sign language, even that we are using the hands, we are using the face, it's connected to the spoken language, but it's not using the grammatic as we are used to have it. As I said, we do not have the international sign language. We just have international signs, which are helping people then to communicate in the case that we have to deal with the deaf people. Verbal or speech communication has been addressed by various experts, from anthropologists through the political scientists, geographers, from different perspectives, and we are using with these different theories. But we are not going to those theories. We are just trying to have a little bit of view to the role of language. And I would like to point out the culture as well as geographical presence, because geographical presence of the language is connected to the culture. And of course, inside one country, we have the possibility to deal with different languages, which we are usually calling dialects if they are from the same language group. But in some countries, of course, we can find the different languages and different cultures, like the minorities. In Slovenia, we have, for example, 3 official languages: the Slovenian language, the Hungarian language, and the Italian language. And besides that, a big number of dialects. And in one case, we have even a dictionary which is translating from the dialect of the western part of Slovenia. The region is called Prekmurje, the language Prekmurščina. It's not possible to be translated. And it was so strong in the past that they even published the dictionary between these 2 languages. So maybe a little bit as the interest, what's going on, how we are connecting the language on one side with the culture, and what is happening then when we are coming to the non-verbal language. Because if we said that might be for somebody, the sign language would be also non-verbal, but it's verbal because it's connecting to the spoken language. Then we will see that non-verbal language is no English non-verbal, no Slovenian non-verbal, but it's just the non-verbal language, because our body is then the one which is communicate with other people. We are aware about that, or we are not aware about that. but yes, it is very important and influence quite often, of course, our life. I have here still some slides in the connection with the verbal communication as the introduction, which will be shorter than, of course, at the end. But let's point it out still some of the things that are important and are also connected to the nonverbal language. So speech and language have placed humans at the forefront of living beings. And it is important that besides the speech, we have also the written version of the language, because the written version of the language is the one which survey usually, while the just when there is just the speech can be lost through the years or through the centuries. Communication is, of course, always upgraded, or the symbols appears, but the symbols are not necessarily linguistic. And also, of course, the gestures or the signs are not necessarily linguistic. What is important? Important is that we have in the language some grammatical rules. We have some rules how we speak, how we combine the sounds and similar. Something from that we will see also in the nonverbal part, while the nonverbal part has no grammatical rules, because we are not with nonverbal communication with the body language and with the rest. We are not presenting any rules, or the construction of the language is self. Besides the dialects that I mentioned already for the language, maybe it is important to mention also jargons, because they could be connected in some points also to the nonverbal language, in the sense that subgroups or some professional groups are using some special gestures or signs or symbols to make some activities, and instead of using words, because they cannot use them for different reasons. Either a medical doctor, they have masks and they cannot speak, so they have to show in some way. Or if we are in media and we are online, then it's also impossible to talk, but it's needed maybe to do some communication, that it's not spoken, but that the communication with the people is still presented and available from that point of view. This is, I'm sorry, still that we have some parts here, but holistic understanding of language is somehow important, because we will see that nonverbal communication will be also in some way holistic, or it will be take broader. So we have to deal with the phonology, morphology, as well as with syntax that I mentioned it already. Of course, there is also semantic. And if we said that there is no syntax in the nonverbal communication, might be there they could be a kind of the semantic, not really officially, but in the way that in different cultures, different movements or different symbols are different by their meaning. And this is even more difficult, and we have to be even more careful if we are not in our own culture or in the culture that it's close to us, that we are not using such such gestures or signs, not to bring ourselves into difficulties. The last point of the holistic understanding of the language is, of course, the pragmatics, the spelling itself. But if we are talking about the verbal communication, we have to deal also with the translations and interpretations. And interpretations will be something what we have to interpret in the case of the non-verbal communication, if we are using the body language, if we are using facial expressions, so then the other side has to interpret what we are saying or what we would like to say, and this could lead also to the misunderstandings. I hope that non-verbal communication will not cause us those problems. And when you will be next week face-to-face together, the students for the first time, mostly now you were not able to see your faces except when you were being in the smaller groups. Then you can maybe also try to read the faces of others or to see their movement or their dress code. Costas mentioned there is no dress code. We all are casual. But anyway, maybe somebody will send us also through the dress some of the messages. So let's start with the part that was announced as the main part, and this is, of course, non-verbal communication. We started with verbal communication, we started with speech because it is a part of information exchange. And non-verbal communication is also information exchange, but on unspoken way. So it is unspoken communication, and quite often we are also not aware of it. And quite often we are also not able to influence it because our body reacts. If somebody in the case of, I don't know, surprise, shame, or whatever is get red, we cannot stop that. So what are all the parts of the non-verbal communication? Here are at least some of them mentioned, but there will be more coming, and more formal will be presented. Facial expressions, we are used of them. We can from the face read if somebody is satisfied, happy, unhappy, sad, or whatever. Body movements, these are the parts. Maybe some of you can see from time to time that I'm using my hands. So at least my fingers are coming to the camera. But when I'm showing something, I'm also trying to show how myself I'm using the gestures or the body movement. This is like I want to point out something, for example. If I would go back to the sign language and I will do in this way, so, and also nick a bit the head, it would meaning in Slovenian sign language and many other languages, because this is one word that it's quite common and would be thank you. Then the body orientation, eye connection. Teachers, we are quite often used to select a student or listener to whom we are speaking, to whom we are talking. Might be during the COVID period when we change and go very much to the online lectures. I know for me personal, in the first hours, it was difficult. The students were not really impressed to be on camera, or sometimes they even didn't have the camera because everything happened so fast. And there was just the monitor in front of me with my slides, and I was talking to my slides. People, we are used to communicate with each other, and to see students on the screen was for me also important in the way to get the reaction. Either they understand me, either they are boring, either it's too early in the morning to have the lectures and they are still a bit sleepy. So all this is useful for the speaker to change the way how is presenting the material, how is talking, and take it positive. So don't think now, because I mentioned already a few times that we cannot block our reactions, that sometimes we are even not aware about what we are communicating and how we are communicating nonverbal. But let's take this as a help to the speaker, and on the other side, as a help to us when we communicate with other people. Body orientation is also important, not just the eye contact, but how we are oriented when we are looking to somebody, how we have our hands. So something like that is maybe that somebody is not really open-minded. This is like a general explanation, but it's not necessarily that people really want to show this, even that they are not aware. Some of the people are used to have hands, I don't know where and how, and we cannot always say, yes, this is this, I'm sure. Our voice, when we are speaking, it's enabling us to give the verbal communication and non-verbal communication, namely the tone, how we are saying something, how loud we are with this, either we are going to the silence. So non-verbal communication, we can also make it non-verbal in some way to the same time. We will see on the next slide, I suppose, also the role of non-verbal communication, what we would like to do with it. In the part on the non-verbal communication, they are not going those parts that are more like body language, but also what we expect about our interpersonal so how close we are going to the people, how much space we would like to have around us, how our office is organized, or our flat, or whatever. This is also the communication to the others, but non-verbal way, as well as the scent. where we will see that in some African countries, the smell of onion is something what the people like very much, and none like usually in our Western countries, where we are not so impressed by the onion, only when we have a great picnic and the onion is a part of it.
Just a minute, I did not understand. It's part of communication, onion smell?
No. I was speaking about the smell, the scent. And I will present you then the case that in some countries, in some cultures, the smell of onion is very valuable. In our Western countries, it's something what is not really like, we like maybe the onion by the picnic, but not to get with this smell, I don't know, to have a date. But they are using the onion to go to the date. But we are coming back to this. It's okay for now, Elad? Okay, good. Thank you. Already Kostas mentioned before that the part of nonverbal communication is much higher, as we might be aware. There are even the numbers going up to 93%. I'm not standing behind that, but some of the ratings are going in this way. It is it's making a significant proportion of our communication, so it's a big part of it. Body language, what we are quite often use for nonverbal communication, but as I said, nonverbal communication is much broader, was recognized already during the time of Aristotle. So nothing what it would be modern part. It is always Greek part. So whatever we are doing, it's always coming from there, if I may joke a little bit. On the other side, for example, Charles Darwin believed that the non-verbal communication has biological conditioning or the roots in the way that smiling, laughing, it's biological determined. What is hardly to say, our facial expressions are connected to our biological existence. And of course, my facial expression cannot be same or similar as from the Kostas, even that we both have the glasses. But yes, for those who would like to have the eye contact or who would like to see more out of our eyes, maybe it's more difficult because they cannot see directly the eyes. Okay, so nonverbal communication reveals our personality, emotions, behavior, attitudes, and for involving or to be in a part of nonverbal communication, besides the hands, face, space, personal space, we are using much more, and I hope this is coming soon. But we have to see also what is the purpose of nonverbal communication. We said that some parts of nonverbal communication, we are not even aware what we are doing. But on the other side, sometimes we are using nonverbal communication to repeat the verbal message, to make it stronger, or to bring it closer to the people with whom we are communicating, because might be they didn't hear us because of some noise or whatever. So with the help of nonverbal communication, we try to repeat the verbal message. There are sometimes, of course, the redundancy with that. If I'm saying, have a nice day, bye-bye, and I wave for the goodbye. So this is actually the redundancy to what I said, or if I shake the hand or whatever, but they are working in the communication. There is also one interesting thing, which is opposite to verbal communication in some way, that non-verbal communication has no lying, or it's much more difficult to pretend that the person pretend herself, himself, to be, I don't know, happy or satisfied or whatever, while with the words we can say this much easily. So usually if we have a small talk, and this is not the part of the saying hello, like in English, asking how are you and so on. In Slovenian, if I'm going to the translation, if somebody is asking how are you, we are usually then answering, oh, fine, thank you for asking, and so on. Very rarely people would say, oh, I'm unhappy, unsatisfied, or whatever. But also with our body language or other nonverbal possibilities, we probably show the reality. So because maybe our face is not really so happy or so satisfied as we are saying. Nonverbal communication can be a kind of compensation for verbal one, because of the environment, what I mentioned already before, that it is quite connected either also to some professions, like in radio, maybe in the sport. And the sport is development of nonverbal communication in sport during last years is, I would say, very interesting somehow. I don't know if you are following, I don't know, the football games or the basketball games, but by the basketball, everything is going much faster, even that Costas like the basketball probably more than the football. But in the football, you could see nowadays that they protect their mouth, so that somebody would not read from their lips if they are speaking, or even from the face. And this is quite common nowadays. What I don't know, 5-10 years ago, it was not happening. Also, in the traffic, for example, it's hard to use the verbal communication if we want to show somebody something, like I will wait you there on the other side of the street, or whatever. So with the gestures, we manage to communicate in the way.
Tatjiana, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
When you use the word compensation,
So
the one with the compensation, when you talked about spare, do you mean instead of, like the use of verbal communication,
Yes.
instead of, like non-verbal communication instead of verbal communication. When you
Exactly.
cannot talk, so you use
Exactly.
okay. So that's the idea.
Sorry, as I said, there is the reason that I still have to do some reading and correct also maybe some English expressions that
No, that's fine, because I'm familiar with the use of compensation, and in linguistics, in languages, when you use it when you use some kind of a strategy or some kind of structure instead of another one.
Mhm.
When you have difficulties or obstacles using a certain structure or a certain language, so compensation is saying things in different words or
Yeah.
in different manner. That's the idea.
In some part, this is also in different manner, or instead of the verbal communication, maybe we will still try to talk with somebody in the noise, but to the same time we will try also to show, because we are not sure if the other person could hear us at all. Yes, Kostas, you raised the hand.
Yeah, I would like to.
Probably.
Yes, I would like to ask the simplistic language, the language that the people are trained in order to communicate fast, but it's not a whole sentence. It's like something like for a very fast communication. Is it considered a compensation for verbal communication? Because a simplistic language does not need an environment. It's some language that you can use through the email, in order to communicate very fast. But do we use it, in our daily business life? And is it considered a compensation for verbal communication?
I would not say, probably it's compensation in some way for the verbal communication, because you still write at least some characters. This was developed very strongly, I believe, with the mobile technology, also partially with the emails. But myself, in Slovenian language, we are saying instead of best regards, something like lep pozdrav, and L and P are used then for the simplification of that. Personally, I'm not going, so I'm not using it because it could be also confusing, but also non-verbal language can confuse us because could have different meanings, especially also in different cultures. Kostas, can you let me know when I have to finish?
I mean, you have still half an hour maximum.
Okay, so I have to switch on turbo.
No, I mean, okay, you can take a break, or it's up to you. I mean,
No,
you
no,
have
I
time.
don't need the break. I just want to know how much time do I still have. Because I really would like to go through the whole material, and yeah, the main point is coming. So the purpose of nonverbal communication, completing verbal communication. So we are trying to say to people that they have to be silent, and then we are also showing emphasis on verbal communication, what we already mentioned before, some regulating, controlling verbal communication with the voice modulation and other similar things. But let's go to this main part, what all we count, or at least some authors are counting as the nonverbal communication. Body movement, body language, kinesics, this is the easiest part. That one we are used pretty much. Use of space or proxemics, touch or haptics, physical appearance and dress, use of voice, what is the paralanguage, and I mentioned it a little bit already by the verbal communication, use of time or chronemics, and smell or olfactics. So also with smell, we are sending the messages in one or another way. And when we are coming to smell, Elad, I will go back to the onion. Let's start with the things that are the most known for us. This is the body language. Let's have everything on the slide. First,
Tatjana, I would
Yes.
like to ask you something particularly for smell. I know that each one of us, we have a particularly smell. So it's like our fingerprint is like our, let's say, iris of, eyes. How you can communicate with smell? I mean, you need, when you communicate, you change something. I mean, with smell, how do you make it? They are different
Kostas,
flavors of the same.
may I answer on this when we are coming so far?
Yes, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
So all nonverbal communication, including also the body language, we have to consider it in the context, because as I mentioned already, different cultures, different contexts, also different meaning. We are using the basic hand gestures also quite often, like okay, like that. Then for the money, but sometimes this is used also for some other things, or for the greetings, and so on. So these are some hand gestures that are well known, and they are also the most problematic sometimes because they have the different meaning. Then we try to illustrate, visualize some of the things. The fishermen, at least in Slovenia, when they are catching the fish, they are showing the size of the fish with the hands, but I have to go out of the camera because they are showing usually the fishes that are much longer. We are using also to show how high is the pile maybe of the exams on my table that I have to correct. Luckily not now, but this pile will come as well. So this is like to emphasize something, to replace. So it's a kind also of meta communication that it's going together, maybe also with the verbal communication. With the body language, our strong expression is going on emotion, which are usually facial expressions that are different. Then some of them are more universal as the others, but could have a different meaning. Smile don't means only that we are smiling because we are friendly to somebody, we are trying to make the contact, but sometimes smile is also meaning, what do you are saying, who you are, or you are wrong. So for that reason, we mentioned before that we have to put this always in the context. And if we would have just the non-verbal communication, this would be quite hard because a lot of things would be missed. What would be missed, for example, with the help of non-verbal communication, we are not able to express that something is going to be in the future or that something passed in the past. Might be we could try to show with the hands, oh, something that comes later, or something what was coming in the past, but it's much more difficult as maybe some other things. Then with the help of body language, we're regulating something, managing the communication. I pointed out already this eye contact, the silence, showing interest to something when we start to look to some of the things where we're interested and so on. Then adaptation, physical, psychological, like, I don't know, Costas, if I may, you use, for example, I believe that you are stretching sometimes in some of the meetings, move whatever because you need this or whatever. Also by the sitting, we crossing legs. I can imagine that your legs are now crossed, that you, so that we are doing whatever with our arms. Okay, if we are cold, we are trying to make ourselves warm. We also showing the resting somehow, and yeah, there are also some gestures like with the hairs, especially if they are the ladies with long hairs or something similar. When we are nervous or fear, then we are using the same gestures and we are probably even not aware of them. This was something that long ago, my husband, when he was not my husband, said, "Oh, why you are nervous?" And I was really nervous. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, how he find out that I'm nervous? And later on, he told me, and he was right. I was not aware what I was doing with my hand when I was nervous. Yes, Tania, please.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. At the beginning of your presentation today, you talked about lingua franca,
Yes.
meaning the common language, universal language, verbal communication. Like English is the lingua franca of the world. Do we have a lingua franca of nonverbal communication? Is there something that is universal, like because you say we, when you say we, do you mean the lingua franca of nonverbal communication? Is there something like that?
Probably not. I mean, if I'm saying we, I'm probably use the way how we express ourselves in Slovenian language. So we are not saying I, but we are saying in plurality, if this is more common for most of the people. But a lot of those things that I was mentioning now, and they are still coming, they are common to many of us, but maybe on the different things. We all are smiling, either if we are smiling in the positive way, or if we are smiling also when we are maybe not so positive. So many of those things are in the way of lingua franca. But on the other side, could we also understand completely differently or wrongly, because in the context and in the culture could have the different meanings. Kostas.
I mean, to this very nice question from Samia, I will say no, because I think, but I think this is my, answer, to what Samia has answered, because I think that the non-verbal communication has a very strong cultural aspect. So, for example, in some religions, you cannot look at the eyes. I remember once I was in Holland and I tried to shake my hand with an Israeli, but she never gave me her hand, because then they explained to me, because it's their religion, you cannot raise your. I mean, I think that it's a very cultural thing, and you cannot say that you can have this lingua franca, because the lingua franca is only the use of the grammatic and how do you speak. Probably the accent differs, but it follows the rules. And then the others is like the culture is so strong that you can distinguish. For example, the Italians, the Greeks were very loud. If you see, like, even I don't agree with smile. I had Norwegian students. Are you happy? Yes. Then you ask him, are you happy? Yes. And when, you don't know who, I mean, it's like, the culture is over there. I think that the technology will help, because I think that with the face recognition, the big data, you can distinguish and you can develop what is the body language of Greeks? What are the body language of Israel? What are the body language of Slovenia? So Spanish. I think, but it's very cultural. This is my first instance following what I have observed traveling all the time, but probably I'm wrong. But and this is my answer. Yes.
I want
No,
to see furthermore.
sorry, Elad?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not just the culture of the country. You can find in the neighborhood, in the specific university, in specific wherever.
I will say, but a lot. I will say it's specific of the country. I mean, I insist on this. Why do I insist on this? Probably, and then excuse me if I'm wrong. I insist because, I mean, look, how is the Israeli society structure? No hierarchy. I mean, you can take the initiative. If you go to China, the hierarchy is there. Even so, the body language.
Yes.
So I insist on the culture. But probably, in Crete we can discuss with some wine and we can change our mind. But I think that, I think it's a culture. Even, how do you speak to someone that you respect differs from country to country?
No, definitely. I agree that first thing is the country, the culture that you come from. And then there are much more smaller divisions that you can identify. In the United States, it's very easy between people from the South and the North. But I think you can define it even in very smaller mini cultural groups.
I mean, in continuation of what Elad has mentioned, yes, in the States you can distinguish who is from South, who is from Boston, who is from California, but still you can see that the Americans, the way that they have this, let's say, daring things, they dare things and then they correct easy, I mean, they have, some things, how do they react? But yes, I mean, small differences, yes. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
If I may take over again, nice to have some discussion in between. I agree, Kostas, with you. I pointed also out that is nonverbal communication very much culture connected, and this is the most important part. And probably my answer was going not really correctly in expression, where was the question lingua franca, not lingua franca, but we have maybe words franca or gestures franca, which we are using maybe as the same all around the world or mostly around the world. And as lingua franca could be only in the limited group, which is using not to show or not allowed to express some of the things, like maybe in sport or something like that. But then it's this really very much limited. But let's try to come before the end of the time to the end of the slides. And we
can I add something also?
Yes.
I will say that the culture in the non-verbal communication changes the threshold of the expression of some unique, let's say, feelings. So, for example, the stress. How do you express the stress? How do you express the fear? Probably in standard conditions, you can see the culture. But after extreme conditions, you can see the expression of all of them. So I will say this: the threshold of this expression also changes.
Yeah. We are by the space, by proxemics. So space and the territory of the individual is very important. What is happening? When the students are sitting in the lecture room, they are maybe using the same places in different lecture rooms. At least in our culture, is so. We were joking about that with my students a bit on Monday, that they start to fill the room from the last row onwards, not from the first row backwards. So if they are the empty spaces, they are in the first rows, and probably this is also in other cultures or in other surroundings. But when we are speaking about the proxemics, we have in our mind the personal space, that the person expect to have it, and also the space with which we are giving additional informations in the way how our office is arranged. It could show the status and the power. So the main CEO will probably have, I don't know, the crystal lights, the heavy Persian floor, the styles furniture, while somebody else would have, I don't know, simple IKEA furniture, which is explaining then who is who, but not necessarily, because especially if there is going for the positions, each new vice rector probably cannot furnish the office that is getting with the position new one. But in any case, it can show also the status and the power. Also, it's showing some non-verbal informations if we are changing a lot in the space in which we are moving the things, organized it every week differently. It is possible for some of the things, but not, of course, for the everything. But maybe we should put some point additionally on the personal space. So I'm moving away from the table where I'm sitting, because I would like to show you my hands. So if I'm coming back a bit, now I'm almost touching my computer. So this is my personal space where I do not want to have most of the people, except those that are very close to us. So if we have to deal with the basketball players, we could say that they have a very, very big personal space because their hands are quite long, because they are tall. Of course, it's not necessary, but this is something what is proposed to the people, that if they don't want to bother somebody or enter into the private space of another person, that they try to see how long are the hands or opposite going out of the own hands. Some cultures, we are again by the cultures, they do not like to get very close to each other. The people in UK, when they are staying in the line, they are staying in the line, and there is some space. This space, if you're going to the Finland, the Finnish are also going to stay in the line waiting the bus, but they want to have the personal space in between. And it's this personal space usually quite big. There are some other cultures, quite often is coming this from Asia also, that they are going very close also when they want to speak with somebody. I was talking about that with one professor from Finland, and she said that whenever she has students from China, there is a problem because they are coming in her personal space, And if she's moving back, they are moving forward. And at the end, if there is the wall behind her, so the person has no possibility for escape. So we have to be careful about this personal space. And during the COVID period, this has changed quite a lot. We were pushed on one side to have the difference, but it was not hard to push us because we want to protect ourselves. We were afraid about the illness, and we have this personal space. With my students, we discussed this, and one of the students reported like, okay, as far as it was the COVID, it was so nice. It was easy to go on the bus. Everyone was waiting. Now it's again, everyone it's behind the other, like not to give really the space to enter into the bus or to doing whatever. This use of space, it's for some people very important, and some of them, they could be even how to say, anxious if this is not like that. So the cultures, like the cultures from Latin America, Middle East, Asia, need less personal space usually, as the other, like I mentioned, the Finnish people, I mentioned UK in some part, and in Western countries, we are usually also more happy with more space available for us. The next topic, which is going in the connection with this one somehow, is the touch, haptics. Touch is actually the most basic form of communication, namely the newborn child is common. So the parents are communicating with the child with the touch, with protect the baby, with touching his hands or whatever, showing the positive energy, protection, and all this. So the touch has long history, and it's also sending different messages, numerous messages: protection, support, confirmation, then I don't know, protection if we are sad, happiness if we are happy and celebrating together. So again, we are when, where, and who we touch. Inside the family, the touch is normal. Between the people who are not close to each other, the touch is in some culture even not expected, prohibited, or whatever, and could be even problematic. Mediterranean nations, there is a lot of touch. The kisses for saying hello. For example, in Slovenia, this is not such a common thing. And I remember that my first coming with touch in this way was with one professor from Portugal. When she arrived, she started to put the kisses on our cheeks. And yeah, because she was a guest and we were the host, of course, we didn't react on that. But it was to that time strange to all of us. Okay, nowadays, many years after that, being a lot in touch also with all those colleagues and friends, This is for me also just a normal saying of hello, greetings, but touch could be a very, very heavy communication which could give wrong informations. Touch is different, so depends on the age, on the gender, on the situation, positions, attitudes. In the past, the touch, like kissing the hands, was meaning like on some kind respect. On the other side, being under that person or showing the deep respect with no personal actually independency or whatever. Then we have the cultures where the left hand is not the good hand because we are using it for some other things. But then it's the problem if we have the left-handed people who are not aware of that, and they are doing everything with the left hand. Independent on all this, if there is going for the personal hygiene or eating the food, what is unacceptable in some cases. So this is something what is very, very important. Then if the people are not aware about this, and how is something understandable in the different cultures and different contexts, can be also misunderstood in going hand by hand through the city to men's. In some countries, this is giving the sexual presence, while in some other countries is this something just normal, what has no additional information. So touch is something what is very important. Thank you, Kostas, once again that we are invited to be casual. I'm just looking for one example of the dress. I mean, I will not change my dress or doing whatever, but I want to show later on something. Physical appearance and the dress code or dress culture are also giving the informations. They are the colors that they are in some cultures reserved for happiness, and for some other for sadness. White color, for example. The brides are usually in white. If the bride is coming in the black dress, this is meaning that must be really something extra, or everyone would look very strange. In some cultures or on some levels, like, I don't know, UK with as a monarchy, they get the instruction what is allowed on the events when there are in the connection with the king, queen, and so on. It is also for the receptions on the state level what has to be the dress code. We are daily also confronted with the specific dresses that are connected to the culture, to the region, to the religion, to the status, to the power. So for the CEO, it is expected that he's always in the suit with the tie, but not in the shorts, for example. Some companies has a strict dress codes that everyone has to follow it. Quite often could happen that it's not allowed for women to have the trousers as a dress code of the company, for example. So in religion, we have a lot of this showing with the dress, and this is the non-verbal communication, because we show who we are in this religion hierarchy, or to which religion we belong on one or another way. Also with the professional clothing, we are saying who we are. Are we the policemen, the soldiers? Are we working in the hospital, for example? Also with the uniforms that children have in some countries for primary schools, maybe even secondary schools, they are showing also the belongings and inform, oh, you are going to that and that school, or you are going to that and that school, while in some other cases or additional information that they want to give it with this, that all the pupils are equal because they are equally dressed, there is no differences. So when I started in Slovenia, my primary school, we have a kind of the coat over the other, so to make to not show the differences about the dresses. They were a few years before me also obligatory, but during my time not anymore. In some countries, they are making even the whole history through the dress code. Do you know what do you have here? It's the Scottish, yes, Costas?
It is the Scottish, traditional clothing, the kilt.
Yeah, this is not the kilt, it's
But
tartan.
anyhow, it has more story this, because the squares and the colors differs from family to family. So for example, let's say McKinsey is different than the McDonald's, or different than McPetridis or whatever, McSegev. Whatever.
Exactly.
So this differs from family to family in order to communicate not only their nationality, but also the families.
Thank you, Costas.
I did my PhD in St. Andrews. I should learn something.
I know. And thanks that I didn't need to explain this to you. But this tartan that I have in my hand, it is the scarf. It is the tartan of European Association for International Education. They had the conference in Glasgow some years ago, and approximately a year before, they went to the Scotland. They went to the institution where this was possible to be done. They told what are the colors, and they made the tartan for them, and these were then produced. They use it for the souvenirs, and they use it for all the colors for the event. So as you can see, it is a lot of the information in our dresses. It could be the whole history. So the Scottish families coming together, they don't need to have the badges. It is enough that they have the kilts, and then they could know to whom they belong. Yes, Samia.
Yeah, I wanted to say two things. First, from the feedback that I received from the students when they worked on the battle that I gave when I gave my presentation on intercultural communication, most of them mentioned that when they discuss the issue of interaction between different groups, different students from different countries, they managed to see similarities. That's one win. So even though there are differences in the codes of interest, culture, religion, our students, the students of this course, this is what they wrote on Padlet, and I've read it all. They mentioned that they had so much in common. The other thing I wanted to say, with nonverbal communications, things are different. So the piece of advice that I gave on the presentation that I gave earlier in this course, I suggested that people ask when there is an intercultural encounter, like meeting between people from different cultures, people ask themselves questions, not starting with why. You never ask somebody from Scotland or from a different country why you're doing this. You can ask different questions: who, when, what, like what do you, how do you dress, what do you put on, and when, but never ask with the word, start your conversation with the word why, because when you ask with why, you put your partner in a defensive position, as if they are defending or justifying their difference, and this is not where we should be heading to. That's my advice.
Thank you, Samia. Costas raised also the hand.
Yeah, I would like to ask Samia. Thanks to, do you think that these more and more common things that our students and ourselves, it's not only the students, it is us as well. Can we say that this is due to the globalization? Now that we travel more, we visit more countries, we interact, through the Zoom, we Erasmus also, and student and staff mobility can help the students to integrate more. Why do you think that these similarities were less, let's say, before 30 years? What is
I
your
think
feeling?
it's mainly based on the feedback in the post that the student posted on the Padlet for my lecture.
But this is the
Most
action. But my question is like, what is the reason of these more similarities? And do you
they
think that these
mentioned the
similarities
reason.
are
That's what I'm saying. Most
yeah,
of the students in this course wrote that it's mainly because of Erasmus and internationalization
excellent.
at universities.
I want this
That's what they
statement.
wrote.
I want this statement to send it.
Yeah.
I want this statement.
Okay, so now I should be more than turbo because we are close to the time that was available, I believe, for my talking. So physical appearance on one side, as we said, the dress. We are showing also the respect to the event with the dress. These dress codes are changing, of course. We have now in Slovenia the time of matura. So this is the final exam of the secondary school, which is written all around Slovenia on the same time, all the students with the same exercises and so on. And later on, they have also the oral exam. And in my time, so to say, when my generation or a bit older generation had the same exam that was a little bit differently organized. The guys they bought maybe for his first suit. Also, the girls came dressed very well for this oral examination. And it was the tradition. Nowadays, of course, this is not a case, even not anymore for the diploma defense or master thesis defense, more for the PhD, yes, of course. And in some countries, again, there are the rules how you have to be dressed when you are defend your PhD. In Finland, the candidate, as well as the board, as well as the supervisor, they must have, oh my goodness, where is now my English? This tall hat, I just know the cylinder, the name, they must have it. and they are dressed in the most noble men dress, that I cannot find now the English word. Oh my goodness. I will try
Use
to
body language.
frack. If you are going to the Vienna Wall or Vienna Opera dance, the man is dressed in what? You probably don't have it. I will find it later on and let you know. So they have to be dressed really very, very well. And the PhD party, ladies, obligatory long
Smoking. Do you mean
smoking.
smoking?
Smoking. Thank
see,
you, Costa.
Body language.
Yes.
Again, what
so
is it? Costas?
Sorry, Elat?
No, I'm trying to understand this.
Smoking a lot is like with this kind, not a tie bow.
Ah,
With a
okay.
tie bow and suit, you know. I mean, this is also, you know.
Very, very comfortable.
I
This
don't
is
know.
this is obligatory for the PhD defense in Finland. It was still something like 6-7 years ago. I don't know if this changed very recently, but yes, it is. And when we are speaking about the appearance, then it's also the representation of ourself, and there is also the difference of the understanding about the beauty, what is beautiful in one culture and what is beautiful in another culture, like neck rings in some African countries. We in West are not so eager about that, I would say. And what is also beautiful according to the same time period, or for the people in some age. So with this, we are also giving some informations. I believe that we still have two categories. One is the using of voice, so paralanguage, laughing, crying, moaning, swallowing. Namely, we are using different tone, different volume, different rhythm, different resonance when we are speaking. We are also using different vocalization to show our emotions or whatever. Also, silence is a part of non-verbal communication mostly, but can present different respect, agreement, disagreement, apathy, confusion, shame, regret, sadness. It could have a different meaning. So we are again by the context. We have to find everything in the context, how we are speaking, how we are presenting. We can express also our feeling and emotions. I have here the same sentence, but depends on that how I pronounce this sentence can have a different meaning. Like, Marco, you are going to marry Helena. So this is the fact. Marco, are you going to marry Helena? It's a question and surprise, or could have also some other meaning. Also, if we point on you, Marco, you are going to marry Helena? It's again the question, it's the surprise. This can follow also with some facial expression, because I believe, even that I was not watching myself in those moments, that when I was reading these sentences, I was using quite strong facial expression, I would say. And excitement, Marco, you're going to marry Helena. probably somebody would say, great, I'm so happy, or whatever. But already one sentence with using the paralanguage, we can have a very, very different expressions. Okay, I was too fast again. Reflecting the culture differences by the use of the voices. I'm never really very silent when I'm talking. I mean, I'm quite loud, and in some surrounding is this not really welcome. So Costas, because you are going to the United States, my friends from United States, they were almost shocked when I allowed me in the supermarket to scream from one side to another side. I mean, not 100 meters, but anyway, to make attention to my husband, and they were coming to me and say, sorry, Tatjana, could you be a bit more silent? We are used to be silent in the shop. Probably not in Greece, seems that also not in Slovenia. So it is, of course, very strongly culture connected, and it's good to use. Oh no, we have still the time. Yes, the time is usually my problem. And in the nonverbal communication, this could mean that I'm not polite, I'm not respect the times of others, or whatever, if my lecture is too long or my lecture is going longer. But we are using now already the time for the discussion somehow, because we had the discussions in between. The time is differently understandable again in different countries and cultures. In Africa, in some African village, even they agree on some time, maybe not so much nowadays, but not so far ago. They start the meeting when all they come together. Nowadays, in our cultures, usually we have some rules, like Costa's rule is lecture is at 3, but we start 10 minutes after so that everyone can join. In also Mediterranean countries, the time it's maybe not so strong, important. Some delays are very easily understandable. While of course in the meetings, business meetings, this is not so much acceptable. Time we can categorize as monochromatic and polychromatic. Monochromatics are usually the Western cultures. This is linear time, start somewhere, end somewhere. And one thing is done in one time, and it's important to keep the track and not jumping back, forwards, or whatever. While by the polychromatic time, this is more in cycle, also going back, not only going forward, thinking and speaking and using discussion of different things at the same time. This depends a little bit also on our character, what persons we are, not only on the culture. Culture are giving us the frame, but some of the things connected to the time, similar like by dress code, is also connected to us as a person, how we are feeling. Also, when we were talking about the space, when we are talking about the offices or the flats, besides the culture influence, you have also the personal influence of the person who is dealing with the office, the flat, or whatever. Different concepts of times can be very confused. People who are used to live in some surrounding with some version of the time, and they are coming to the other culture, would be at least unhappy if they are not going the things in the same way. Like, I don't know, the American in the Hong Kong meeting will be probably unhappy if the people will go to the point that was like closed already. But this is happening, of course. Some cultures find this as the wasting of time and inefficiency. Then also the appointments, like by the doctor or some other things, in some cultures and countries are normal. In some, they are not to be expected. I can still remember that probably something like 25 years ago, if I need to go to see the medical doctor, I went to the medical doctor, I was asking who is the last, and then I was waiting that my turn was coming. Okay, nowadays I really do not have this luxury of wasting the time in that way. Today we are doing the appointments, but in some culture they do not have the problem with that. And at last but not least, we have also the different calendars, and this is also some kind of the communication. We do not need to ask, because if we are aware to which calendar belongs somebody, we can check it by ourselves. And in our projects, it's not always easy, but we are always aware that we have different calendars, that we have different holidays, the same kind of the holidays, but the different dates. And this is the information that it's given to us, even that we are not aware of this. I collected here some different calendars, but there are much more of them. And while I do not know real details of all of them, I will skip this, and we are by the really the last category, and we are going sooner or later back to the onion and back to the Costa's question. Every one of us has a special smell, but this smell is not something what we communicate with other person, at least no, not nowadays, I would say. Probably in the past, I don't know, the people recognized each other, but smell is important, while the babies recognize the mother by the smell, because they do not have many communication possibilities, and this is one of it. So when we are speaking about the smell, there is actually not really a lot of scientific research so far. But anyway, with the smell, with the perfume, or with the aftershave, whatever we are using, we are also sending a kind of the message, what we like in this area on one way, but on the other way, the people would recognize us with a good smell, with the people might be with the position, with taking care about us, and so on. While with the bad smell, like, okay, I'm sleeping on the street, not really important, all those things. So in this way, we are then representing the positions, the power, the status, and they can present also the ethnic groups in the case that the ethnic groups are connected to some special smell, or they use it for some presentations. With the smell, which is going like jasmine, lavender, roses, we are also presenting that we want to make the environment pleasant, that we are welcoming the people around us, and so on. So our smell, smell of our body is mostly then the communication with, as I said, mother-child on that level. But our smell otherwise is showing well-being, understanding of situation where something is good to be spread as a smell as well around. And again, different culture, different understanding. The onion, now we are back to onion. The breath on onion is not really accepted in Western countries, for example, while for the Dogons from Mali, this is ethnic group, the onion means something special. And when the boys and girls are going for the date, they used instead of the perfume, the onion. So the smell of onion is for them something special. And probably we could find some other cases like this as well. So the smell was more or less the last category, and almost the last slide of my presentation. Instead of the conclusion, I have here this context of culture and nonverbal communication. When the nonverbal communication is important, addings. They do not have a formal grammar, but they are rules and norms that tell us also what is appropriate and inappropriate, but on nonverbal way. We have to learn from the cases, from the cultures, from socialization and experiences, and we have to be aware of possible misunderstandings and conflicts. So awareness and observations are very important. We have to observe, to be aware of the differences that can appear, and then we can see what communication we are getting for. This was my last slide from this my presentation on nonverbal communication, trying to show you what all is nonverbal communication. We are aware of many of those things, but we are not aware which one we are used in one or another moment, and we cannot influence some of those. As we know, in Greek, yes is verbal ne, and because ne in Slovenian language means no, so for me, it's at Slovenian, it's almost impossible to talk ne and nick the head because I want to say ne because it's saying no. And many more cases we could additionally find, but I believe to our host, this Greek part was probably also additional good conclusion. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for comments. I'm available here. I will be available next week, and I'm really looking forward to see all of you, most of you in beautiful Hania with our great host, Kostas. Kostas, thank you.
Thank all of you, not Tom. Kostas, your participation makes, the events and the project more interesting, not, the individuals. Thank you, Tatjana, for this very nice and insightful talk. Already Samir has sent a positive feedback, and I will provide the floor to Livia. Livia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Tatjana, for your beautiful presentation. It was a very nice remembering of all what we are doing means. I was thinking about what you said about smell. I've just read something very interesting. I guess it's interesting for you too. I'm working with newborns, so I'm very interested in what's instinctual in men and women, and there is a special smell of the infants, of the newborns and of the infants that awakes different reactions in women and in men. And they have proven it by using MRI. So women smelling the head of the newborns, they become more not aggressive, but they try to protect the infant. So their instincts to protect their infant is awakened and strong. In the meantime, male smelling the head of a newborn or an infant becomes less aggressive. So it smoothens the male aggressive behavior, and he's not prone to attack like we are seeing in other species. So this was very interesting for me.
To be honest, when I for the first time come in the contact with the smell as a part of nonverbal communication, I was at least a little bit shocked because yes, it's unexpected, and we do not know what to do now with this. But as you can see, our cultures, our communication, as well as verbal and non-verbal, is a kind of a puzzle. And those puzzles sometimes surprised us, I would say.
Yeah, and it starts when we are even so small that we cannot verbally communicate.
Exactly. We are not aware, when we are grown up, we are also not aware of some nonverbal communication, even less when we are born, but we just by the instinct know what to do, how express ourselves. And this is all the nonverbal communication so long that we don't start to talk. And many of those things that I was mentioning were used by the people as long as they didn't find out the languages, the words, they start to talk and communicate in another way. They were communicating by touching, by smelling, by facial expressions and everything. So it was the development through the centuries.
Thank you very much again for your presentation. Thank you, Professor Patridis, for the opportunity.
Thank you. I'm happy
you.
that you like it.
Thank you very much. I have a question. Like, Tatjana, how useful could be, for to teach, this kind of non-verbal communication in the universities in order to help people to adapt easier in their mobilities, but later on in their professional life, because I mean, big companies, they are doing this. When you move, from Europe to Hong Kong, they learn them, all these customs. As I told you at the very beginning, the same happens to me now that I'm ready to move to another continent. Why we don't have a joint course in order, to train our students from other undergraduate studies on this kind of, languages, like, these non-verbal languages.
Yeah, I can agree with you. As you know, I have also the technical background in electrical engineering and then further in computer science. And when I found out what is really the importance of the culture, my first statement was that everyone, not just those who are studying economy or social sciences, and is this the part of their study, that everyone would need to have a course in intercultural communication, and then the non-verbal communication is just part of it. This is so much helping us also to understand other people, because these facial expressions or whatever other things that are non-verbal and we are not completely aware that they are happening to us, they are telling the other people so much, but they maybe misunderstood us. I agree, it would be useful, it would be needed, it would be good as a part of the preparation for the mobilities, for everything. I believe that this is something like, in general, not like to replace as a kind of lingua franca to understand others, if you understand me. So that this we need, like we need English to communicate.
I think
Thank
there
you.
is a demand, Kostas.
Please.
Following globalization, Erasmus, and all these virtual exchange programs, there is a need for adding international communication instead of like teaching a language, English. There's a need to choose a broader concept or discipline that covers all these ingredients, including languages, verbal and non-verbal communication, and intercultural communication. And I think, and maybe even more, and I think all these can be put under one umbrella, which we can call intercultural communication.
Yeah.
Including English, languages, verbal, non-verbal, intercultural communication, all the ingredients under one umbrella. That's what I think.
Exactly. I think that this will be, a nice starting point to do something else, something new on this. So I think that, are there any questions from the audience? Thank you so much for the lesson from Rafa. Sorry, I have to go now. All of us have to go now. But, if there are more questions, anyhow, if not, I would like Tatjana to place, the multi-choice questions for the students before they arrive to Hanya. This will be my first question. Did you make the quiz? So
No.
if the answer is no, there is two ways, my way or the highway. So, it's better, to place, the quiz, today for them in order to do it, in order to follow the schedule. And don't forget that you need also to do the evaluation. After each lecture, you need to do the evaluation. This is very important for us as well. So that's it. I would like to
Thank
wish
you, Tatjana.
Tatjana,
for all the comments.
πολύ, καλή νύχτα, and see you hopefully, for sure, next week. Live.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.